This play is called Our Town. It was written by Thornton Wilder, produced by the San Juan College Theater Department, and directed by Lynn Ann Easley. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude 42 degrees, 40 minutes. Longitude 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The name of the first act is called A Day in Our Town. That day is May 7th, 1901, just before dawn. The sun's just beginning to show streaks of light over in the east there, just behind our mountain. The morning star always looks awful bright the minute before it has to go, doesn't it? Well, I better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Over there is the railway station. Tracks go this way. Way over there is Polish Town and some Canuck families. Presbyterian Church is over here. Congregational is just across the way. You have the Methodists and the Unitarians, and the Baptists are way down in the hollow by the river. Catholics are just across the tracks. Up here, we have a whole row of stores. Hitching posts and horse blocks in front of them. The first automobile is going to come along in about 5 years. Belonged to Banker Cartwright, our richest citizen. He lives in the big White House up on the hill. Over here is the grocery store and Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Most everybody in our town manages to look through these windows at least once a day. Public school's over yonder. High school is still further over. Quarter of 9 o'clock mornings, noon times and afternoons, the whole of the town can hear the yelling and screaming from those schoolyards. Over here is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. There's some scenery for those of you who think you need scenery. This is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhocks, heliotrope, and a lot of burdock. In those days, our newspaper come out twice a week, the Grover's Corners Sentinel. And this is our editor's house, Editor Webb. And this is Mrs. Webb's garden. It's a lot like Mrs. Gibbs, only there's a lot of sunflowers too. Right here is a big butternut tree. It's a nice town, you know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable has ever come out of it, as far as we know. The earliest tombstones up there in the cemetery say 1670, 1680. They're Grovers and Cartwrights and Gibbses and Herseys. Same names as are around here now. So, like I said, it's early morning. The only lights on in town are over in Polish Town, where Mother's just had twins, and in the Joe Crowell household, where Joe Jr. is getting ready to deliver the paper, and in the depot, where Shorty Hawkins is getting ready to flag the 545 for Boston. Naturally, out in the country, all around, lights have been on for some time now, what with Milkins and so on, but town people sleep late. So, as I said, early morning. Doc Gibbs will be coming down Main Street at any minute now. And there's Mrs. Gibbs coming downstairs to make breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in 1830, and the new hospital's named after him. Mrs. Gibbs died first, though. She went out to visit their daughter, Rebecca, who married an insurance man in Canton, Ohio, and died there. Pneumonia. She was brought back here, though. She's up there with a whole mess of Gibbses and Herseys. Well, she was Julia Hersey before she married Doc Gibbs in the Congregational Church. Us town people like to know the facts about everybody. And there's Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to make breakfast. And there's Doc Gibbs. And there's Joe Crowell coming to deliver the paper.
Doc Gibbs?
Morning, Joe.
Somebody been sick, Doc?
No, just a pair of twins born over to Polish Town.
Would you like your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything serious happened in the world since Wednesday?
Yes, sir. My school teacher, Miss Foster, is getting married to a fellow over in Concord.
Well, I declare, how do you boys feel about that?
Well, it's none of my business, of course, but I think if a person starts out to be a school teacher, she ought to stay one.
How's your knee, Joe?
It's fine. I never think about it, only like you said. It always tells me when it's going to rain.
Well, how about today? It's going to rain?
No, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
Knee ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
I want to tell you something about Joe Crowell Jr. there. He graduated head of his class here at the high school and got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there, too. It was all wrote up in the Boston paper at the time. Going to be a great engineer, Joe was. But then the war broke out in France, and he died there. All that education for nothing.
Get out, Bessie!
Here comes Howie Newsom to deliver the milk.
What's the matter with you today? Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
No, just some twins born to Mrs. Garolowski's.
Twins, eh?
Yes?
This town's getting bigger every year.
You think it's gonna rain?
Oh, no. Fine day. That'll burn through. Come on, Bessie.
Hello, Bessie. How old's she now, Howie?
She's going on 17. You see, Bessie's all mixed up about the route ever since the lockout stopped taking a quart of milk every day. She wants to leave him a quart just the same. Just keeps scolding me the whole trip.
Good morning, Howie.
Good morning, Ms. Gibbs. Doc's just coming down the street.
Oh, is he? Seems like you're late today.
Yeah, something went wrong with the separator.
Oh.
Don't know what it was. Doc.
Howie?
Children, time to get up.
Come on, Bessie.
George, Rebecca. Everything all right, Frank?
Oh, yes. Easy as kittens.
Bacon will be ready in a minute. Here, you sit down and drink your coffee.
Oh,
You'll be able to get a couple hours sleep this morning, won't you?
well, let me see. Mrs. Wentworth's coming in at 11. I guess I know what it is, too. Her stomach ain't what it ought to be.
All told, you won't get more than 3 hours sleep. Frank Gibbs, I don't know what's going to become of you. I do wish I could get you to go away someplace and take a real rest. I think it would do you good.
Emily, time to get up. Wally, 7 o'clock.
I declare, you have got to speak to George. Something seems to have come over him lately. He's no help to me at all. I can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
Oh, no, he just whines. All he thinks about is that baseball. George, Rebecca, you'll be late for school. George.
George, look sharp.
Yes, Pa.
Don't you hear your mother calling you? Well, I guess I better go upstairs and get 40 winks.
Wally, Emily, you'll be late for school. Wally, you wash yourself good or I'll come up there and do it myself.
Ma, what dress shall I wear?
Don't make a noise. Your father's been out all night and needs to sleep. I washed and ironed the blue gingham for you special.
Ma, I hate that dress.
Oh, hush up with you.
Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey.
Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice.
Mama, George is throwing soap at me.
I'll come up there and slap the both of you. That's what I'll do.
Children, now I won't have it. Breakfast is just as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling like wolves. It'll stunt your growth, and that's fact. Put away your book, Wally.
Oh, Ma, by 10 o'clock I get to know all about Canada.
You know the rule as well as I do. No books at the table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age. I have a wonderful memory.
I'm bright too. Gave you my stamp collection.
Eat your breakfast.
I'll speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me 25 cents a week's enough for a boy your age, I declare. I don't know how you spend it all.
Ma, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry phosphates, that's what you... did you use it on?
Well, I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I've been saving up gradual.
Well, I think it's a good thing to spend some every now and then.
Mama, do you know what I love most in the world? Do you? Money.
Eat your breakfast.
Mama, there's the first bell. I don't want any more.
Walk fast, but you don't have to run. Pull up your pants at the knee. Wally, stand up straight, Emily.
Are you ready for the test today?
Tell Miss Foster I give Cinder my best regards.
Yes, Ma.
You look real nice, Rebecca. Pick up your feet.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Good boy. Here, chick, 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 chick. Come here. Here, chick, 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 chick. No, not you. Not you. Go away. Go away. Here, chick, 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 chick. Oh, now what's the matter with you? Fight, fight, fight. That's all you do. Huh. You don't belong to me. Where did you come from? Huh. Oh, don't be so scared. No one's gonna hurt you. Good morning, Myrtle. Oh, how's your cold?
Well, I still get that tickling feeling in my throat. I told Charles I didn't know I'd go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yes, but somehow I can't do that and stay on key. While I'm resting myself, I figured I'd string some of these beans.
Oh, let me help you. Oh my, beans have been good this year.
I've decided to put up 40 quarts if it kills me. The children say they hate them, but I notice they're able to get them down all winter.
Now, Myrtle, I have got to tell you something because if I don't tell somebody, I will burst.
What, Julia Gibbs?
Here, give me some more of those beans. Myrtle, did one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston come see you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called on me. First, I thought he was a patient one to see Dr. Gibbs, but then he wormed his way into my parlor and, Myrtle Webb, he offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy as I'm sitting here.
Why, Julia Gibbs?
He did that old thing. Why, it was so big I didn't know where to put it. I almost give it to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know? $350. What's come over you?
Well, if I could get the doctor to take the money and go away somewhere on a real trip, well, I would sell it like that. You know, Myrtle, it has been the dream of my life to see Paris, France. Oh, sounds crazy, I suppose, but for years I've been promising myself if I ever had the chance.
How does the doctor feel about it?
Well, I did beat about the bush a little, and I told him that if I got my legacy, that's how I put it, well, I would make him take me somewhere.
What did he say?
Oh, you know how he is. I haven't heard a serious word out of him since I've known him. No, he says, it might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe. Better leave well enough alone, he says. Oh, every 2 years, he makes a trip to the battlefields of the Civil War, and that's enough treat for anybody, he says.
Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War. Mr. Webb's a good mind to give up Napoleon and move over to the Civil War. Only Dr. Gibbs being one of the greatest experts just makes him despair.
It's a fact. Dr. Gibbs is never so happy as when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. Oh, the times I walked over those hills, Myrtle, stopping at every bush and pacing it all out, like we were going to buy it.
Well, if that second-hand man's really serious about buying it, Julia, you sell it, and you get to see Paris, all right. You just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Well, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Only it seems to me that once in your life, before you die, you ought to see a country where they don't talk in English and don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Now, we want a little more information about our town, a scientific account, if you will. So I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to come and sketch a few more details about our past history here. Is Professor Willard here? Oh, yes. May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university? A few brief notes, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Rover's Corners. Let me see here. Rover's Corners lies in the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say it's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that. A shelf of Devonian basalt crosses it with vestiges of Mesozoic shale and some sandstone outcroppings, but that's all more recent, 200, 300 million years old. Some highly interesting fossils have been found. I may say, unique fossils, 2 miles outside of town in Silas Peckham's cow pasture. They can be seen at the museum in our university at any time. That is, at any reasonable time. Would you like me to read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation, mean precipitation, etc.?
I'm afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. We might have a few facts on the history of man here.
Yes.
Yes.
Anthropological data. Early Amerindian stock, Cotahatchee tribes. No evidence before the 10th century of this era. now entirely disappeared. Migration toward the end of the 17th century of English brachiocephalic blue-eyed stock, for the most part. Since then, some Slav and Mediterranean...
And the population, Professor.
Within town limits, 2,640.
Oh, just a moment, Professor.
Oh, yes, indeed. The population at the moment is 2,642. Now, the postal district brings in 507 more, making the total 3,149. Mortality and birth rates constant by McPherson's gauge, 6.032.
Thank you so much, Professor. We are all very much obliged
Not
to you,
at all,
I'm sure.
sir, not
this
at
way,
all.
This way, Professor. Professor Willard of our State University. Yes, thank you. Okay. Now for the economic and social report. We have Editor Webb. Mr. Webb?
He'll be here in a minute. He just cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Everybody's waiting.
Mr. Webb is editor of our newspaper, the Grover's Corners Sentinel. Yeah.
Well, I don't have to tell you that we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21, and women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkling of professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republicans, 6% Democrats, 4% Socialist. The rest, indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestant, 12% Catholic, the rest, indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most, probably a lot duller. But our young people seem to like it well enough. 90% of them graduating from high school settle down right here to live, even when they've been away to college.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions for Mr. Webb?
Yes. Yes. Is there much drinking in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, I don't know what you'd call much. Saturday nights, the farmhands meet up in Ellery Greeno's stable and holler some. We've got one or two town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, ma'am, I'd say liquor ain't a regular thing in the home here, except in the medicine chest. Right good for a snake bite, you know. Always was.
Is there anybody in your town?
I'm sorry, will you come forward where we can all hear you?
Is there anybody in your town aware of social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh, yes. Everybody is. Something terrible. It seems they spend most of their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
So why don't they do something about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all hunting like everybody else for a way in which the diligent and the sensible can rise to the top, and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy to find. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those who can't help themselves, and those who can, we leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Miss Webb, is there any culture, love, or beauty in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, there ain't much. Not in the sense that you mean. Come to think of it, there are some girls who play the piano at the high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, ma'am, there isn't much culture. But maybe this is the place to tell you that we have a lot of pleasures of a kind here. We like the sun coming up over the mountain in the morning, and we notice a great deal about the birds. We pay a lot of attention to them. And we watch the change of the seasons. But those other things, you're right, ma'am. They ain't much. Robinson Crusoe and the Bible and Handel's Lago, we all know that. And the Whistler's Mother. And those are about as far as we go.
So I thought. Thank you, Mr. Webb. Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now, we'll skip forward a few hours. It's early afternoon. There's a beautiful calm in our town, a buzzing and a humming from the schoolyards. Horses are dozing at the hitching posts. You all remember what it's like. Doc Gibbs has been in his office poking people and making them say, ah! And Mr. Webb has been cutting his own lawn. 1 man in 10 thinks it's a privilege to cut his own lawn. The children will be coming home from school soon. No, it's later than I thought. Here they are now.
I can't, Louis. I've got to go home and help my mother. I promised.
Emily, walk simply. Who do you think you are?
Oh, Papa, you're terrible. 1 minute you're telling me to stand up straight, and the next you're calling me names. I just don't listen to you.
Golly, I never got a kiss from such a great lady.
Excuse me, Mrs. Favre.
Go out and play baseball in the fields, young man. You got no business playing here on Main Street.
I'm awfully sorry, Mrs. Favre. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class.
Well, I was really ready to make a speech about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Corcoran made me talk about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head nights when you're doing your homework in your room.
Why, can you?
Yeah, you certainly do stick to it. I don't see how you can sit still that long, but I guess you like school.
Well, I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, really. It passes the time.
Yeah. What do you think, Emily? Maybe we can work out some type of a telegraph from your window to mine, and maybe once in a while you can give me a kind of hint or two about one of those algebra problems. What, Emily, I don't mean the answers, of course not. Just a little hint.
Well, I suppose hints are allowed. So, if you get stuck, just whistle over to me and I'll give you a hint.
You're awfully bright, Emily.
I suppose it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah, but you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says whenever I'm ready, I can come over and work on his farm. And if I'm any good at it, I can just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. It's been nice talking to you, but I better be headed off to the baseball field, so thanks for the talking. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Emily, come over here and help me string these beans for winter. Yeah. George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? Why, he's growing up. How old would George be now?
I don't know.
Let's see. He must be almost 16.
Mama, I made a speech in class today and I was very good.
You'll have to recite it to your father at supper. What was it about?
The Louisiana Purchase. It was like silk off a spool. I'm going to make speeches my whole life. Mama, are these big enough?
Try and get them a little bigger if you can.
Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously, will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Yes, of course you are. All my children got good features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
That's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
I've already told you yes. Now that's enough of that. You have a nice, young, pretty face. I never heard such foolishness.
Oh, Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling you the truth.
Mama, were you pretty?
Yes, I was, if I do say it. I was the prettiest girl in town next to Mamie Cartwright.
But Mommy, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. Now stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Come along now and bring that bowl with you.
Oh, Mama, you're no help at all.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Now, there's a little more information we want about our town. I think it's time to tell you that the Cartwright interests have begun building a new bank in Grover's Corners. Had to go to Vermont for the marble, sorry to say. But they've asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000 years from now. Of course, they'll put in a copy of the New York Times and of Mr. Webb's Sentinel. We're particularly interested in this because scientific fellas have created this new glue, a silicate glue, that'll make the pages last 1,000, 2,000 years. They'll put in a copy of the Bible and of the Constitution of the United States and of some of Mr. William Shakespeare's plays. So what do you think? You know, Babylon had over 2 million people in it, and all we know about them are the names of some kings and some contracts for the sale of wheat and the sale of slaves. Yet every day, those people had supper, and the fathers came home from work, and smoke went up the chimney, same as here. And in Greece and Rome, all we know about the real life of the people that lived there are what they wrote for the joking poems and the comedies for the plays back then. So I'm going to have a copy of this play put into the cornerstone, so people 1,000 years from now will know a few facts about us, more than the Lindbergh flight or the Treaty of Versailles. See what I mean? So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces of New York in the early 20th century. This is the way we were in our growing up, and in our marrying, and in our living, and in our dying. A few hours have passed. You can hear the choir practicing behind me. The children are at home doing their schoolwork. The day's running down like a tired clock.
Now look here, everybody. Music. Music comes into the world to give us pleasure. Again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
Blessed be the tide that binds
Softer.
our hearts.
Softer.
Christian love.
Softer! Get it out of your heads that music's only good when it's loud. You leave loudness to the Methodists. You couldn't beat them even if you wanted. Now again, tenors. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Blessed be the tide that binds.
Emily!
Hello.
Hello.
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Why, yes, George. That's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Emily, can you give me a hint?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer's in yards.
Yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh. Square yards.
Yes, George. Don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Wallpaper. Oh. I see. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. My, the moonlight's so terrible. And with choir practice going on, I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Contacook. Hear it?
What do you know?
Well, I better be getting back to work. Good night, George.
Good night, Emily, and thanks.
All right, stop. Now, before I forget, how many of you will be able to come to Fred Hersey's wedding on Tuesday afternoon? Show of hands. All right, that'll be fine. Yeah, that'll be right nice. We'll do the same thing we did at Jane Trowbridge's wedding last month. Now we'll sing Art Thou Languid, Art Thou Weary. That was a question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it talk.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh.
Art thou weary, art thou languid, art thou sore distressed? Come to me, saith one, and coming be at rest.
Oh, George, will you come down here a minute?
Yes, Pa.
Make yourself comfortable. I'll just keep you a minute. George, how old are you now?
I'm 16, almost 17.
And what are your plans for when school's over?
Why, you know, Pa. I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
And you'll be willing to get up early and milk and feed the stock and hoe and hay all day?
Oh, sure I am, Pa. What do you mean, Pa?
Well, George, I heard a funny sound this morning while I was working in the office. Do you know what that was? It was your mother chopping wood. Now, there she goes getting up early every morning, fixing meals all day, washing and ironing, and then she's got to go out in the backyard and chop wood. Now, I suppose she got tired of asking you and just decided it would be easier if she did it herself. And there you are, eating her meals, wearing the clothes that she keeps so nice for you, and what do? You run off and play baseball. George, you treat her like she was some kind of a hired girl that we just keep around the house and don't even like very much. I knew I just had to call it to your attention, son. Oh, here's a handkerchief. Now, George, I have decided to raise your weekly spending money 25 cents. No, it's not for chopping wood. No, that is a present that you give to your mother. But you're getting older, and there are lots of things that I imagine you must need it for.
Well, thanks, Pa.
Tomorrow's your payday. You can count on it. Well, imagine Rebecca's going to want more, too, now. Where could your mother be? Choir practice has never been this late before.
It's only 8:30, Pa.
Oh, I don't know why she joined that old choir anyway. She's got no more voice than an old crow. Traipsing around the streets at this time of night. Well, it's about time for you to retire, don't you think?
Yes, Pa.
Oh, good night, Martha. Good night, Mr. Foster.
I'll tell Mr. Webb. I know he'll want to put it in the paper.
My, it's late.
Good night, Irma.
Good night, Luella.
Real nice choir practice, wasn't it? Oh, Myrtle Webb, look at that moon, will you? Potato weather for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say a word in front of those others, but now we're alone. Really, it's just the worst scandal that ever was in this town.
What?
Well, Simon Stinson.
Now, Luella.
But Julia, to have the organist of a church drink and drunk year after year. You know he was drunk tonight.
Now, Luella, we all know about Mr. Stimson, and we all know the troubles he's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows, too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him on there in his job, well, the only thing the rest of us can do is just not to notice it.
Not to notice it. But, Julia, it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have. It doesn't happen anywhere near as often. My, I hate to go to bed on a night like this. Well, I'd better hurry. The children will be up till all hours. Good night, Luella.
Well, good night.
Good night, Myrtle. Can you get home safe, Luella?
Well, it's as bright as day. I can just see Mr. Soames scowling at the window. You'd think we'd been to a dance the way the menfolk carry on. Well, good night, Julia.
Good night, Luella. Well, we had a real nice time.
You're late enough.
Why, Frank, it ain't any later than usual.
And you gossiping on the corner with a lot of hens.
Now, Frank, don't be grouchy. Come out and smell the heliotrope out in the moonlight. Come on, come on. Oh. Isn't that wonderful? What'd you do while I was away?
Well, I read as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Oh, well. Believe me, Frank, there was something to gossip about.
Oh, that Simon Stinson, far gone, was he?
Worst I've ever seen him. How will that end, Frank? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
Well, I reckon I know more about Simon Stinson's affairs than anybody in this town. Some people just ain't made for small-town life. No, I don't know how that'll end, but it's none of our business, so just leave it alone. Oh, come, let's go inside.
Oh, no, not yet. Come here. Frank, I'm worried about you.
Oh, what are you worried about?
Well, I think it's my duty to make plans for you to get a real rest and change. And if I get my legacy, well, I am going to insist on it.
Julia, there's no sense in going over that again.
Oh, my Frank, you're just unreasonable.
Come on, it's getting late. First thing you know, you'll catch cold. I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. Well, I reckon you'll be getting your wood chopped for a while anyway. Oh, stop doing that. Come on, let's get upstairs.
Oh, dear, there's always so many things to pick up, seems like. You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild always locks her front door every night. All those people up that part of town do.
Oh, they're just getting citified. That's the trouble with them. They got nothing fit to burgle, and everybody knows it.
Frank.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window. Oh, you're always spoiling everything.
Well, let me just look a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no moon there. George, do you know what I think? Do you? I think the moon's getting nearer, and there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon was getting near, then the people that stay up all night with the telescopes would tell all about it, and it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on Canada, South America, and half the whole world?
Well, probably is.
9:30. Most of the lights are out. Oh, no, there's Constable Warren checking a few doors on Main Street. And there's Editor Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Good evening, Bill.
Evening, Mr. Webb.
Quite the moon.
Yep.
All quiet tonight.
Well, Simon Stinson's rolling around a bit, but his wife got out and she's going to go hunt for him. So I looked the other way. Well, there he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to have settled for the night pretty well. Good evening. Most of the town settled for the night, Simon. I guess we better do the same. Can I walk along the ways with you? All right. Good night.
I don't know how that's going to end up, Mr. Webb.
Well, he's seen a peck of trouble, one thing after another. Oh, Bill, if you see my boy smoking cigarettes, just give him a word, will you? He thinks very high of you, Bill.
I don't know anything about that, Mr. Webb. Leastways, I don't think he smokes more than 2 or 3 cigarettes a year.
Well, it's better than nothing. Good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Who's that up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, Papa, it's me.
Why aren't you in bed?
I don't know. I just can't sleep yet. The moonlight's so wonderful. And the smell of Mrs. Gibbs' heliotrope? Can you smell it?
Yes. Haven't any troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa? No.
Well, enjoy yourself, but don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
I never told you about the letter Jane Crawford got from her minister when she was sick. He wrote Jane a letter, and on the envelope the address was like this. It said, Jane Crawford, the Crawford Farm, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
What's funny about that?
But listen, it's not finished. The United States of America, continent of North America, Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what it said on the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
What do you know?
That's all the first act, friends. You can go smoke now. Those of you that smoke. 3 years have gone by. Yes, the sun's come up over 1,000 times. Summers and winters have cracked the mountain a little, and the rains have brought down some of the dirt. Some babies that weren't even born yet have begun speaking regular sentences, and some people who thought they were right young and spry have found they can't bound up a flight of stairs quite as easily as they used to, without their heart fluttering a little. All that can happen in 1,000 days. Nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways, too. A number of our young people have fallen in love and gotten married. So, the mountain's been bit away a few fractions of an inch. Thousands of gallons of water have gone past the mill, and here and there, a house has been put up under a roof. Almost everybody gets married. You know what I mean? Oh, in our town, there's hardly any exceptions. Almost everybody crawls into their graves married. The first act was called The Daily Life. This act is called Love and Marriage, and there's another act coming after this, and I reckon you can guess what that's about. So, it's 3 years later, 1904, just after high school commencement. That's when most of our young people jump up and get married. Soon as they finish their final examinations in solid geometry and Cicero's orations, they suddenly feel themselves fit to be married. It's early morning. Only this time, it's been raining. It's been pouring and thundering. Mrs. Gibbs' garden and Mrs. Webb's drenched. All those bean poles and pea vines drenched. All yesterday there on Main Street, the wind was like curtains being blown along. May begin again any minute. There, you can hear the 5:45 for Boston. And there's Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to make breakfast, just as though it were an ordinary day. I don't have to tell you that these two ladies you see before you each made 3 meals a day, one for 20 years and one for 40 years, and never a summer vacation. They each raised 2 children, washed, cleaned the house, and never a nervous breakdown. It's like what one of those Old West poets said. You've got to love life to have life, and you've got to have life to love life. It's what you call a vicious circle.
Giddy here, Bessie!
There's Howie Newsom coming to deliver the milk, and there's Cy Crowell delivering the paper, just like his brother before him.
Morning, Howie.
Good morning, Cy. Anything in the papers I ought to know?
Nothing much, except for losing about the best baseball pitcher Grover's Corners has ever seen, George Gibbs.
Reckon he is.
He could hit and run bases, too.
Yep. Mighty fine ball player. Whoa! Whoa! Bessie! I guess I can stop and talk if I have a mind to.
I don't see how he could give up a thing like that just to get married. Would you, Howie?
I can't tell, Si. Never had no talent that way. Oh, you're up early, Bill.
Yeah, just trying to see if I can do anything to prevent a flood. It's been raining all night.
Well, Si Crowd here is all worked up about George Gibbs retiring from baseball.
That's the way it goes. Back in '84, we had a player, Si, that George Gibbs couldn't touch. Name of Hank Todd. Went down to Maine to be a parson. Fine ball player. Howie, what does the weather look like to you?
Oh, it ain't bad. I think maybe it'll clear up for good.
Well, good morning, Howie.
Good morning, Miss Gibbs.
Do you think it's going to rain again?
Well, it rains so heavy, I think maybe it'll clear up.
Oh, certainly hope it will.
And how many did you want today?
Well, I'm going to have a house full of relations, Howie. It looks like to me like I'll need 3 of milk and 2 of cream.
2 of cream and 3 of milk. Oh, and my wife says to tell you we both hope they'll be very happy, Miss Gibbs. We know they will.
Well, thanks a lot, Howie. Tell your wife I hope she gets there to the wedding.
Oh, yeah, she'll get there. She'll get there if she can. Morning, Miss Webb.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Newsom. I told you 4 quarts of milk, but I hope you can spare me another.
Yes, and the 2 of cream.
Will it start raining again, Mr. Newsom?
Well, I was just saying to Miss Gibbs as to how it may lighten up. And Mrs. Newsom told me to tell you as how we both hope they'll be very happy, Miss Webb. We know they will.
Thank you, and thank Miss Newsom. We're counting on seeing you at the wedding.
Oh, yes, Miss Webb. We hope to get there. Couldn't miss that. Come on, Bess.
Well, Ma, the day has come. You're losing one of your chicks.
Frank Gibbs, don't you say another word. I feel like crying every minute. Sit down and drink your coffee.
The broom's upstairs shaving. Only trouble is, there ain't a whole lot to shave. Oh, he's whistling and singing like he's glad to leave us. Every now and then I hear him say, "I do," through the mirror. It doesn't sound very convincing to me.
Oh, I declare, Frank, I don't know how he'll get along. I've arranged his clothes and seen to it that he's put warm things on. Oh, Frank, they're too young. Emily won't think of such things. He'll catch his death of cold within a week.
I was just thinking about my wedding day, Julia.
Oh, now don't you start, Frank Gibbs.
I was the scaredest young fella in the state of New Hampshire. I thought I'd made a mistake for sure. Then I saw you coming down the aisle, and oh, you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. Only trouble was, I'd never seen you before. There I was in the Congregational Church marrying a total stranger.
Well, how do you think I felt? Oh, Frank, weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are. Here, I made something for you.
Oh, Julia Hersey, French toast.
Well, it ain't hard to make, and I had to do something.
Oh, Julia, how'd you sleep last night?
Well, I heard a lot of the hours struck off.
I get a shock every time I think about George setting out to be a family man. That great gangly thing. I tell you, Julia, there isn't anything so terrifying in this world as a son. Why, the relation of father to son, it's the darndest, awkwardest.
Well, mother and daughter's no picnic, let me tell you.
They'll have their share of troubles, I suppose, but that's none of our business. Everybody's entitled to their own troubles.
Yes, people are meant to go through life 2 by 2. Tain't natural to be lonesome.
Do you know one of the things I was scared of most when we first got married?
Oh, get along with you.
I was afraid we wouldn't have enough material for conversation last us more than a few weeks. I thought we just run out, eat our meals in silence, and that's a fact. Well, you and I have been conversing now for 20 years without any noticeable barren spells.
Well, good weather, bad weather. Tain't very choice, but I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca stirring around upstairs?
No. It's the only day of the year Rebecca hasn't been managing everybody's business up there. She's hiding in her room. I get the impression she's crying.
Oh, Lord sakes, this has got to stop. Rebecca? Rebecca, come and get your breakfast.
Good morning, everybody.
Oh, George.
Only 5 more hours to live.
George Gibbs, where are you going?
I'm just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
Now, George, you put your overshoes on. It's raining torrents out there. You don't leave this house without you prepared for it.
Ma, it's just a step.
George, you'll catch your death of cold and cough all through the service.
George, do as your mother tells you.
From tomorrow on, you can kill yourself in all weathers, but while you're in my house, you'll live wisely, thank you. George, maybe Mrs. Gibb isn't used to callers at 7 in the morning. Here, take a cup of coffee first.
I'll be back in a minute.
George?
Good morning, Mother Webb.
Goodness, you frightened me. Now, George, you can come in a minute out of the wet, but you know I can't ask you in.
Why not?
George, you know the rules well as I do. The groom can't see his bride on his wedding day, not till he sees her in church.
That's just a superstition. Oh, good morning, Mr. Webb.
Good morning, George.
Now, Mr. Webb, you don't believe in a superstition like that?
Oh, there's a lot of common sense in some superstition, George.
Millions have followed it, George. You don't want to be the first to fly in the face of custom.
Well, how is Emily?
Haven't heard a sound out of her. She hasn't waked up yet.
What? Emily's asleep?
Well, no wonder. We're up to all hours sewing and packing. Now, I'll tell you what I'll do. You sit down here a minute with Mr. Webb and drink this cup of coffee. I'll go upstairs and see she doesn't come down and surprise you. There's some bacon, too, but don't be long about it.
Well, George, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what sense could there be in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, on her wedding morning, a girl's head's apt to be full of clothes and one thing and another. Don't you think that's probably it?
Yes, I never thought of that.
A girl's apt to be mighty nervous on her wedding day, George.
I just wish a fella could get married without all that marching up and down.
Every man who has ever lived has felt that way about it, George. But it hasn't been any use. It's the women folk who have built up the weddings, my boy. For a while now, women have it all on their own. Yes, and all those women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure that the knot's tied in a very mighty public way.
But you still believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, yes. Don't misunderstand me, my boy. Marriage is a wonderful thing. A wonderful thing. Now, you don't forget that.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
Well, you see, I'd been to college, and I'd taken some time to get settled. But Mrs. Webb, she wasn't much older than what Emily is. But age has much to do with it, not compared to other things.
What were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
Oh, I don't know. Was I going to say something? George, I was thinking the other day about some advice my father gave me when I got married. Yes. Charles, he said, Charles, start off early showing who's boss, he said. Best thing to do is to give an order, even if it doesn't make sense, just so she'll learn to obey. Oh, yes, and he said, if anything about your wife irritates you, her conversation, anything, just get up and leave the house. That'll make it clear to her, he said. Oh, yes, yes. He said, never let your wife know how much money you have. Never.
Mr. Webb, I don't think I
So
could.
I took the opposite of my father's advice, and I have been happier ever since. And let that be a lesson to you, George. Never to take advice on personal matters. George, are you going to raise chickens on your farm?
What?
Are you going to raise chickens on your farm?
Well, Uncle Luke's never been interested in chickens, but I thought...
A book came into my office the other day on the phylosystem of raising chickens. I want you to read it. I'm thinking of starting in a slow way in my backyard, and I'm going to put an incubator in the cellar.
Charles, you talking about that old incubator again? I thought you two be talking about things worthwhile.
Well, Myrtle, if you want to give the boy some good advice, I'll go upstairs and leave you alone with him.
George, Emily's got to come downstairs and eat her breakfast. She sends you her love, but she doesn't want to lay eyes on you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Myrtle, I guess you don't remember that older superstition?
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the caveman, no bridegroom should see his father-in-law on the day of the wedding or anywhere near it. Now you don't forget that. No.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Webb. Now, I have to interrupt again here. We want to know how this all began. This wedding, this plan to spend a life together. I'm awfully interested in how big things like this begin. You know how it is. You're 21, 22, you make some decisions, and then whoosh, you're 70, and you've been a lawyer for 50 years, and that right-haired lady sitting next to you has shared over 50,000 meals with you. How do things like that get started? Well, George and Emily are going to show us now the conversation they had when they first knew that, as the saying goes, that they were meant for one another. It's 3 o'clock. They're going to be coming out of high school soon. George has just been elected president of the junior class. And seeing as it's June, that means he'll be elected president of the senior class as well. And Emily has just been elected treasurer and secretary. I don't have to tell you how important that is. Here they are coming down Main Street now.
I can't, Louise. I've got to go home and help my mother. Oh, Ernestine? Ernestine, can you come over tonight and do Latin? Isn't that Cicero the worst thing? Tell your mother you have to. Goodbye. Goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Fred.
Emily, can I carry your books home for you?
Thank you. It isn't far.
Excuse me a minute, Emily. Say, Bob, if I'm a little late, stop practice without me. And give Herb some long high ones.
Goodbye, Lizzie.
Goodbye, Lizzie. I'm awfully glad you were elected too, Emily.
Thank you.
But, Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've just been treating me so funny lately.
Well, since you asked me, I might as well say it right out, George. Goodbye, Miss Corcoran.
Goodbye, Miss Corcoran. What is it?
I don't like the whole change that's come over you in the past year. And it hurts me to say it, but I've got to tell the truth and shame the devil.
A change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot. And I watched you as you did everything, because we've been friends for so long. And then you began spending all your time at baseball. And you never stopped to speak to anyone around you anymore. Not even to your own family, you didn't. And it's a fact, George, you've gotten awful conceited and stuck up, and all the girls say so. They may not say so to your face, but that's what they say about you behind your back. And it hurts me to hear them say it, but I've got to agree with them a little. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but I can't be sorry I said it.
I never thought such a thing was happening to me. I'm glad you said it, Emily. I guess it's hard for a fellow not to have faults creep into his character.
Well, I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think he should be.
Oh. Well, I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is, and as far as I can see, your father is. There's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too.
Well, I feel it's the other way around, that men aren't naturally good, but girls are.
Well, you should know right now that I'm not perfect. It's not as easy for a girl to be perfect as a man. Us girls are more nervous. No, I'm sorry I said all that about you. I don't know what made me say it.
Emily.
Now I can see it's not the truth at all, and suddenly I feel it doesn't matter anyway.
Emily, will you have an ice cream soda with me or something before you go home?
Why, thank you. I would.
Oh, hey Stu. How are you? Good afternoon, Mrs. Slocum.
Hello, George. Hello, Emily. Why, Emily Webb, what have you been crying about?
She just had an awful scare, Mr. Morgan. She almost got run over by that hardware store wagon. Everybody says that Tom Huckins drives like a crazy man.
Here, Emily, have a glass of water. You look all shook up. I always say you gotta look both ways before you cross Main Street these days. Gets worse every year. What do you have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate. Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
No, Emily. Have an ice cream soda with me. 2 strawberry ice cream sodas, Mr. Morgan.
Oh, 2 strawberry ice cream sodas. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, there are 125 horses in Grover's Corners this minute I'm talking to you. The safety inspector came in here yesterday. Now they're bringing in these automobiles. Ugh. I think it's best just to stay home. I remember when a dog could fall asleep in the middle of Main Street all day with nothing come along to disturb him. There they are. Enjoy them. Yes, Mrs. Ellis, what can I do for you?
They're so expensive.
No, don't you think of that. We're celebrating our election. You know what else I'm celebrating?
No.
Well, I'm celebrating because I have a friend that tells me the things that Abby told me.
George, please don't think of that. I don't know what made me say it.
Emily, you stick to it. What you said was right. But you'll see. I'm going to change so quick. You bet I'm going to change. And, well, Emily, if I do go away to agriculture college next year, can you do me a favor?
Yes, George.
Will you write me a letter once in a while?
I certainly will. I certainly will, George. You know, it certainly seems like being away 3 years, you'd get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Grover's Corners wouldn't be so interesting after a while. You know, Grover's Corners isn't a very important place when you think of all New Hampshire, but I think it's a very nice town.
The day won't come when I wouldn't want to know everything that's happened to you. I know that's true, Emily.
Well, I'll try to make my letters interesting then.
You know, Emily, when I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important to go to agriculture college to be a good farmer. And, well, most of them say that it's a waste of time.
Why, George!
Yeah, and you can get all that stuff anyway from the pamphlets the government sends out. And, well, Uncle Luke's getting old, and he's about ready for me to start taking over his farm tomorrow, if I could.
My!
And like you say, being gone all that time, meeting other people in other towns, gosh, if anything like that can happen, I wouldn't want to go anyway. I guess new people aren't any better than the old ones. I bet they almost never are. And Emily, I feel as if you're one of the best friends that I have, and I don't need to see other people in other towns.
But George, maybe it's very important for you to go learn all those things about cattle judging and soils and whatnot, Of course, I don't know.
Emily, I'm going to make up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pa about it tonight.
But George, it's a whole year away. I don't see why you have to decide right now.
Emily, I'm glad that you spoke to me about that fault in my character. What you said was right. But there was one thing wrong in it. And that's when you said for a whole year I wasn't noticing people. And, well, you, for instance, while you said you were watching me when I did everything, I was doing the same about you the whole time. Why, sure, I always thought of you as one of the chief people I thought about. I always made sure where you were sitting on bleachers and who you were sitting with. And for 3 days now, I've been trying to walk home with you, but something's always got in the way. Yesterday, I was standing up against the wall waiting for you, and you walked home with Miss Corcoran.
Like, George, life's awful funny. How could I have known?
Emily, listen. I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to agriculture at college next year. I think once you found someone that you're fond of, I mean, someone who's fond of you too, and likes you enough to be interested in your character, well, I think that's just as important as college. Even more so. That's what I think.
I think it's awfully important too.
Emily?
Yes, George?
Emily, if I do improve and make a big change, would you be, could you be...
I am now. I always have been.
I guess this is an important talk we've been having.
Yes. Yes.
Wait here 1 minute, and I'll walk you home. Mr. Moore, I have to run home to get the money to pay you for this, but I'll be back in a minute.
George Gibbs, do you mean to tell me...
Yes. I had my reasons, Mr. Morgan. Look, here's my gold watch. You can have it until I get you the money.
That's all right. I'll trust you.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'll trust you 10 years, George Gibbs, and not a day over. Got all over your shock, Emily?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. It was nothing.
I'm ready.
Well, let's get on with the wedding. There are a lot of things that go on during a wedding. There are a lot of thoughts that are thought during a wedding. We can't get them all into one wedding, naturally, and especially not one here at Grover's Corners, which are awfully plain and short. In this wedding, I play the minister, so I feel like that gives me the right to say a few more things about it. For a while now, our play gets pretty serious. You see, most churches say that marriage is a sacrament. I don't quite know what that means, but I can guess. It's like what Mrs. Gibbs was saying. People were made to live 2 by 2. Now, this is a good wedding, but even at a good wedding, people are so put in their ways that there's a lot of confusion way down deep in people's minds. And we thought that ought to be a part of our play, too. The real hero of this scene isn't on stage at all, but you know who that is. It's like what one of those European fellas said. Every child brought into this world is nature's attempt at a perfect human being. Well, nature's been pushing and contriving for some time now, and we know that she's interested in quantity, but I think she's interested in quality, too. That's why I'm in the ministry. And let's not forget the rest of the witnesses here, the ancestors. They set out to live 2 by 2 as well. Millions of them. Well, that was my sermon. It wasn't very long anyway.
I don't know why on earth I should be crying. I suppose there's nothing to cry about. It just came over me at breakfast this morning. There was Emily, eating a breakfast that she's done for 17 years. And now she'll be eating it at someone else's house. I suppose that's it. And Emily, she said, "I can't eat another mouthful." And she laid her head on the table and she cried. Oh, I've just got to say it, you know. There's just something downright cruel about sending our girls out into marriage this way. I hope her girlfriend's told her a thing or two. It's cruel, I know, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I went into it blind as a bat myself. The whole world's wrong, that's what's the matter. Oh, there they come.
Hey, George! George! Ooh, look at you! You look scared to death!
Oh, George, don't look so innocent, you old beater. You know what you think is going to see, big boy. Okay?
All right, that's enough of that.
Joy of heaven to earth come down. Fix it aside.
George, what's the matter?
Ma, I don't want to grow old. Why does everybody push me so?
Why, George, you wanted it.
No, Ma, listen.
No, George. You're a man now.
No, Ma, listen. For the last time I asked, I just want to be a fella.
George. If anyone should hear you. Now stop. Why, I'm ashamed of you.
What? Where's Emily?
Oh, George. You gave me such a turn. Oh.
Ma, cheer up. I'm getting married.
Oh, let me catch my breath.
Ma, you save your Thursday nights. Every Thursday night, Emily and I will come over for dinner. You'll see.
Oh, George.
Oh, Ma, what are you crying for? Look, we gotta get ready for this.
I never felt so alone in my whole life. And George over there looking so... I hate him. I wish I were dead. Papa? Papa?
Emily, now don't get upset.
But Papa, I don't want to get married.
Shh, everything's all right.
Why can't I stay for a while just as I am? We can go away.
No, just stop and think.
Don't you remember what you used to say? All the time you used to say. All the time that I was your girl. There must be plenty of places we could go to. I could work for you. I could keep house.
Shh, you mustn't think that way. You're just nervous. George, will you come here a minute, please? Why, you're marrying the finest young fellow in all the world. George is a fine fellow.
But Papa...
Giving away my daughter today, George. Do you think that you can take care of her?
Mr. Webb, I want to try. Emily, I'm gonna do my best. I love you, Emily. I need you.
If you love me, help me. All I want is for someone to love me.
Emily, I will. I'll try.
And I mean forever. Do you hear me? Forever and ever.
Come, they're waiting for us. Now you know it'll be all right. Come quick.
Do you, George, take Emily to be a wedded wife?
Oh, it's a perfectly lovely wedding. Oh, the loveliest wedding I ever saw. Oh, I just love a good wedding, don't you? Oh, isn't she a lovely bride?
I do.
Do you, Emily, take George to be
Oh, I
wedded
don't know when I've seen such a lovely wedding. Oh, but I always cry. I don't know why it is, but I always cry. Oh, I just like to see young people happy, don't you?
I do.
Oh, I think it's lovely. Oh, oh, oh.
I've married over 200 couples in my day. Do I believe in it? Not sure. N marries N, millions of them. And there's the cottage, the Sunday afternoon drives in the Ford, the rheumatism, the first grandchildren, the second rheumatism, the deathbed, the reading of the will. Once in 1,000 times, it's interesting. Well, let's have Mendelssohn's Wedding March.
they'll be happy. I always say, happiness, that's the great thing. The important thing is to be happy.
That's all the second act, folks. 5 minutes for scene change. This time, 9 years have passed, friends. 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are becoming rarer. Farmers are coming into town in Fords. Everybody locks their doors at night now. Ain't been any burglars yet, but everyone's heard about them. You'd be surprised, though. On the whole, not much has changed around here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's a hilltop. A windy hilltop. Lots of sky and clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. You come up here on a fine afternoon and you can see range on range of hills. Awful blue they are. Up there by Lake Sunapee and Lake Winnipesaukee. And if you've got a glass way, way up, you can see the White Mountains and Mount Washington, where Conway and North Conway are. And here, our favorite mountain, Mount Monadnock, and all the towns that surround it, Jaffrey and East Jaffrey and Peterborough and Dublin. And there, way, way down, is Grover's Corners. It's a beautiful place up here, mountain laurel and lilacs. I often wonder why people choose to spend their days in Woodland or Brooklyn when they could pass the same time up here. Over here are the old stones, 1670, 1680. Strong-minded people that come a long way to be independent. Summer people will walk through and laugh at the funny things on the tombstones. Doesn't do any harm. And genealogists get paid to come up from Brooklyn. Get paid by city folk. They want to make sure their ancestors are part of the daughters of the Revolution and of the Mayflower. That don't do any harm either, I suppose. Wherever you come in contact with people, there's bound to be layers and layers of nonsense. Over here are the Civil War veterans. Iron flags on their gravestones. New Hampshire boys who caught the notion that the Union ought to be kept together, even though they'd never seen more than 50 miles of it themselves. All they had was a name, friends. The United States of America. The United States of America, and they went and died about it. This here, it's a new part of the cemetery. Here's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs, and here's Mr. Stimson, the organist at the Congregational Church. And there's Mrs. Soames, who enjoyed the wedding so much, you remember, and a lot of others. Here's Editor Webb's boy, Wallace, whose appendix burst while on a camping trip to Crawford Notch. Yes, a lot of sorrow has sort of quieted down up here. People just wild with grief have buried family members here. You know how it is. And then time, and sunny days, and rainy days, and snow. And we're just happy that they're in a beautiful place. And we're coming up here when our fit's over. You see, there's a lot of things that we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is eternal, and it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't earth, and it ain't even the stars. We all know in our bones that something is eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. Now, you know as well as I do that the dead don't stay interested in the living for very long. Gradually, they lose interest in things like what made them happy and who they loved. They're weaned away from the earth. That's what I call it. Weaned away. And they wait here while the earth part of them burns out, burns up. They're waiting. They're waiting for something that they know is coming. Well, aren't they just waiting for the eternal part of them to come out clear? Now, some of the things that they're going to tell you maybe will hurt your feelings, but that's just the way it is. Mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, enemy and enemy, money and miser, all these terribly important things sort of grow pale around here. And what's left when memory's gone and your identity? Mrs. Smith? There are some of the living people. This is Josephine Stoddard, our undertaker's wife, supervising a new-made grave. And there's a Grover's Corners lass who went out east.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Stoddard.
Good afternoon. Let me see now. Do I know you?
Oh, I'm Samantha Craig.
Oh, yes. Gracious sakes of all people. I should have known you'd be back for the funeral. You've been away a long time, Samantha.
Yes, I've been away over 12 years. I'm in business out in Buffalo now, but I was back in the East when I got news of my cousin's death. So I thought I'd combine things a little and come see the old home. You look well?
Yes, can't complain. Very sad our journey today, Samantha.
Yes.
Yes, I always say I hate to supervise when a young person's been taken. They'll be here in a few minutes. I had to come here early today. My husband's supervising at the home.
Oh, Mrs. McCarty. I used to do chores for her after school. She had the lumbago.
Yes, we brought Mrs. McCarty here a number of years ago now.
Why, this is my Aunt Julia. I'd forgotten that she... No, of course.
Yes, Doc Gibbs lost his wife 2-3 years ago, about this time. And today's another pretty bad blow for him, too.
That's my sister Carrie's girl, Samantha Craig.
I'm always uncomfortable when they're around.
Simon.
Do they choose their own verses much?
No, not usual. Mostly the bereaved pick of us.
It doesn't sound like Aunt Julia. See, there aren't many of those Hersey sisters left. Let's see, I wanted to look at my father's and mother's.
Oh, yes, over there with the Craigs, Avenue F.
Well, he was an organist at church, wasn't he? Drank a lot, we used to say.
Yes, nobody was supposed to know about it. He'd seen a peck of trouble. Took his own life, you know.
Oh, did he?
Hung himself in the attic. They tried to hush it up, but of course it got around. He chose his own epitaph. You can see it there. It ain't a verse exactly.
Well, it's just some notes of music. What is it?
Oh, no. But it was wrote up in the Boston papers at the time.
Joe, how did she die?
Who?
My cousin?
Oh, didn't you know? Had some trouble bringing a baby into the world. 'Twas her second, though. There's a little boy about 4 years old now.
The grave's going to be over there?
Oh, yes. Ain't much more room over here among the Gibbses. So they're opening up a whole new Gibbs section over there by Avenue B. Oh, you'll excuse me now. I see they're coming. Oh.
Who is it, Julia?
My daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
Why, I declare. The road up here must have been awful muddy. What did she die of, Julia?
In childbirth.
Childbirth? Oh, I'd forgotten all about that. Wasn't life awful? And wonderful.
Wonderful, was it?
Simon, now remember.
I remember Emily's wedding. The loveliest wedding I ever saw. And I remember Emily reading a class poem at graduation. Emily was one of the brightest girls ever graduated from high school. Well, I heard Principal Wilkins say so time after time. And I called on them at their new farm just before I died. Oh, perfectly beautiful farm.
It's on the same road we lived on. Yep, Wright Smart Farm. I like that hymn. I was hoping they'd sing one.
Hello.
Hello, Emily.
Hello, Gibbs. Hello, Mother Gibbs.
Emily?
Hello. It's raining.
Yes. They'll be gone soon, dear. Just rest yourself.
Seems thousands and thousands of years since Papa remembered I loved that hymn. Oh, I wish I'd been here a long time. I don't like being new here. How do you do, Mr. Stimson?
How do you do, Emily?
Mother Gibbs, George and I have turned that farm into just the best place you ever saw. We thought of you all the time. We wanted to show you the new barn and the great long cement drinking fountain for the stock. We bought it out of the money you left us.
I did?
Yes, Mother Gibbs, don't you remember? The legacy you left us? Why, it was over $350.
Oh, yes. Yes, Emily.
The fountain has a patent on it, so that it never overflows, and so that it never sinks below a certain mark that they have there, Mother Gibbs. It's fine. It won't be the same to George without me. But it's a lovely farm. Live people don't understand, do they?
No, dear. Not very much.
They're sort of shut up in little boxes, aren't they? It seems thousands of years since I knew them last. My little boy is spending the day at Mrs. Carter's. Oh, Mr. Carter, my little boy is spending the day at your house.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he loves it there. We have a Ford too, Mother Gibbs. It never gives any trouble. I don't drive, though. Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away? Of being one of them? How long does it last?
Dear Chip, just wait and be patient.
I know. Look, they're finished. They're going. Look, Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. He looks just like George, doesn't he? Oh, Mother Gibbs, I never realized before how troubled and how in the dark life persons are. Look at him. I loved him so. From morning till night, that's all they are. Troubled.
A little cooler than it was. Yes, the rain seemed to cool it off a little. Those northeast winds seem to do the same thing. Don't they?
If it isn't a rain, it's a 3-day blow.
But Mother Gibbs, one can go back. One can go back there again. Why, I feel it. I know it. Why, then just for a moment, I was thinking about my farm. And just for a moment, I was there. And my baby was on my lap, plain as day.
Well, of course. Yes, of course you can.
I can go back there and live all those days over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't.
But it's true, isn't it? I can go back and live again?
Yes, many have tried, but they soon end up back here.
Don't do it, Emily.
Don't, Emily. It's not what you think it'd be.
I'll choose a happy day. I'll choose the day I first knew I loved George. Why should that be painful?
You not only live it, you watch yourself living it.
Yes?
And you know what they down there will never know. You know the future. You know what comes next.
But is that painful? Why?
Well, that's not the only reason why you shouldn't do it, Emily. When you've been here longer, you'll see that our life here is to forget all that and to think only of what's ahead. and be ready for what's ahead. When you've been here longer, you'll understand.
But Mother Gibbs, how can I ever forget that life? It's all I knew. It's all I had.
Emily, it isn't wise. Really, it isn't.
But it's a thing I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
No. At least choose an unimportant day. Choose the least important day of your life. It will be important enough.
Well, then it can't be since George and I were married, or since my baby was born. But I can choose a birthday, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right. February 11th, 1899, a Tuesday. Do you want any particular time of day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
We'll begin at dawn. You remember, it had been snowing for several days, but stopped that morning. They begun clearing the roads. The sun's coming up.
Why, there's Main Street. And that's Mr. Morgan's drugstore before he changed it. And there's the livery stable.
Yes, it's 1899. This is 14 years ago.
That's the town I knew as a little girl. And there's the white picket fence that used to be around our house. Oh, I'd forgotten that. Oh, I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes, your mother will be coming downstairs any minute to make breakfast.
Will she?
And your father had been away for several days. He came back on the early morning train.
I don't remember.
He'd gone to speak at his old college in Clinton.
Oh, there's Howie Newsom, and there's our policeman. But he's dead. He died.
Whoa, Bessie. Bessie. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Howie.
You up early?
Yeah, I've been down rescuing a party. Darn near froze he did, down near Polish Town. Got drunk, rolled into a snowdrift. Thought he was in bed when I shook him.
Why, there's Joe Crowell.
Morning, Mr. Warren. Howie?
Joe?
Children, Emily, Wally, time to get up.
Oh, Mama, I'm here. Oh, how young Mama looks. I didn't know Mama was ever that young.
You could come and dress by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry. Oh, good morning, Mr. Newsom. Whew, it's cold.
10 below by my bunk, Miss Webb.
Think of it. Keep yourself wrapped up.
Mama, I can't find my blue hair ribbon anywhere.
Just open your eyes, dear, that's all. I laid it out for you special on the dresser there. If it were a snake, it would bite you.
Yes. Yes.
Good morning, Bill.
Morning, Mr. Webb. You're out early?
Yes, well, just been back to my old college at New York State. Been any trouble here?
Oh, I just got through rescuing a Polish fella. Darn near froze to death he did.
We must get it in the paper.
Wait, it really wasn't that much.
Papa.
Good morning, Mother.
How did it go, Charles?
Oh, fine, I guess. I told him some things. Everything all right here?
Yes. Can't think of anything that's happened special. Been downright cold. Howie Newsom says it's 10 below over to his barn.
Yes, well, it's colder than that at Hamilton College. Students' ears are falling off. It ain't Christian. Any mistakes in the paper?
None that I noticed. Coffee's ready when you want it. Oh, Charles, don't forget it's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her something?
Yes, I have it right here. Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Charles, don't interrupt her now. She's slow enough as it is. Hurry up, children. It's 7 o'clock, and I don't want to call you again.
I can't bear it. They're so young and beautiful. Why did they ever have to get old? I'm here. I'm grown up. I love you all. Everything. Good morning, Mama.
Where Well, now, dear, very happy birthday to my girl, and woo, many happy returns. There's some surprises waiting for you on the kitchen table.
Oh, Mama, you shouldn't have.
But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow to be a good, strong girl. That in the blue paper is from your Aunt Carrie. And I reckon you can guess who brought over the postcard album. I found it on the doorstep when I brought in the milk. George Gibbs must have come over in the cold pretty early. Right nice of him.
Oh, George. I'd forgotten that.
Chew your bacon good and slow to help keep you warm on a cold day.
Oh, Mama. Just look at me for 1 minute as though you actually saw me. 14 years have gone by, Mama. I'm dead, Mama. You're a grandmother, Mama. I married George Gibbs, Mama. Wally's dead, too. His appendix burst on a trip to North Conway, Mama. Don't you remember? We felt just awful about it. But just for a moment, we're here. Just for a moment, we're happy. Let's look at one another.
Oh, and that in the yellow paper is something I found in the attic among your grandmother's things. You're old enough to wear it, and I thought you'd like it.
And this is from you. Oh, Mama. It's lovely, and it's just what I wanted.
Well,
it's beautiful.
Well, I hoped you'd like it. Hunted all over. Your Aunt Nora couldn't find one in Concord. I had to send all the way to Boston. Wally made you something, too. He made it at manual training class, and he's right proud of it. Be sure you make a big fuss about it. Your father has a surprise for you, too. I don't know what it is myself. Oh, shh, here he comes.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
I can't. I can't go on. It goes too fast. We don't have time to look at one another. Take me back, up the hill. But wait. One more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. Bye, Mama and Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers and new iron dresses and warm baths and food and coffee and sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anyone to realize you. Do human beings ever realize life as they live it? Every moment?
No. The saints and poets do some.
I'm ready to go back.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. That's all human beings are. Just blind people.
Look, it's clearing up. The stars are coming out.
Oh, Mr. Stimson, I should have listened to them.
Yes, Emily. Now you know. Now you know. That's what it's like to be alive. To move about in a cloud of ignorance. To go up and down, trampling on the feelings of those about you. To spend and waste time as though you had 1,000,000 years. To be always at the mercy of one self-centered passion or another. Now you know. That's the happy existence you wanted to go back to. Ignorance and blindness.
Simon Stimson, that ain't the whole truth, and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I've forget its name.
My boy Joel was a sailor, knew 'em all. He'd sat on the porch evenings and tell 'em all by name. Yes, sir. Wonderful.
The Star's mighty good company.
Yes, yes, tis.
Here's one of them coming.
That's funny. Tain't no time for one of them to be here. Goodness sakes.
Mother Gibbs, it's George.
Dear, just rest yourself.
It's George.
And my boy Joel, who knew the stars, he used to say it'd take 1,000,000 years for that speck of light to get to the earth. Don't think a body would know it, but that's what he used to say. Millions of years.
Goodness, that ain't no way to behave.
He ought to be home.
Mother Gibbs,
Yes, Emily.
they don't understand, do they?
No, dear. They don't understand.
Most everybody's asleep in Grover's Corners. The only lights on in town are in the depot, where Shorty Hawkins has just watched the Albany train go by, and in the livery stable, where people are setting up late and talking. Yes, it's clearing up. There are the stars doing their old crisscross. Scholars seem to think that there are no living beings up there, just chalk or fire. Only this one's straining away all time to make anything of itself. And the strain is so bad that every 16 hours everyone has to lie down and take a rest. 11 o'clock in Grover's Corners. You get a good rest too. Good night.
Under the silvery moon, meet me tonight in dreamland, where love's sweet roses bloom. Come with the love light gleam, your dear eyes of blue. Meet me in dreamland, sweet, dreamy dreamland. There let my dreams come true.